Alright, we're going to look at the Fall 2019 Final Exam Review for Advanced Algebra. Remember, second block, you'll be taking your test tomorrow because of the EOC being on Thursday when you were originally supposed to take the final exam. So second block, you'll take your test tomorrow. Third block, you'll take your test on Friday. Alright? It says, so number one, which is equivalent to the following? Negative 4 plus I minus negative 6 plus 4i. So if you remember in the Casio calculator, that's the little silver one that we have, gray, whatever color you want to call it. If you press mode 2, that puts you in complex mode. And then whenever you're trying to type I in, you use ENG for I. And you just type it in just like it looks, and the answer would be D for number one. All you're doing is subtracting like terms. Negative 4 minus negative 6 is 2, and I minus 4i will be negative 3i. Same thing for number 2. You type it in. This is an addition problem. You just add like terms, and you get negative 6 minus 5i. And remember, mode 2, and then ENG, I think it's above, like right above 7 or 8 on the calculator. That's what you use for I. What I suggest tomorrow, those in third block who get an opportunity to go through this exam review using the calculator and stuff as I go through it. You can play the video when you're with Miss Miller tomorrow and go through each step along the way because I'll be doing EOC testing. Alright, it says number 4 right here, which is like number 3, but I just didn't change the numbers when I changed the problems. It says, which is equivalent to the following? X squared minus 4x minus 32. This is a factoring problem. Remember we talked about mode 5.3 on that Casio? That will give you the solutions, the x-intercepts, and you can change them to factors by changing the sign. So if you do mode 5.3, you would get 8 and negative 4, but when you change the sign, it would be x minus 8, x plus 4. Same thing on number 5. When you do number 5, you'll just get x equals 4. You won't get an x1 or x2 because 4 is the solution. You change the sign, you'll get x minus 4, and that will be squared because remember there's 2 solutions to a quadratic. You just may be repeating. So number 4 was A. Using mode 5.3 and the Casio calculator again, a small one. And the same thing for number 5. Alright, number 6. It says, which of the following has roots of negative 3 and negative 1? Roots are solutions. They're the same thing as x-intercepts. Roots, x-intercepts, solutions are all the same thing. So you just go through and see which one has the same thing as negative 3, negative 1 when you do mode 5.3. And you'll get A is the one that has the same solutions. And these will be exactly how it looks. X1 will be negative 3 and x2 will be negative 1, or vice versa, whichever way it comes out. Alright. The next problem, number 7, with a hole cut out, says, what are the roots of x squared minus 49 equals 0? Again, mode 5.3, your A will be 1, your B will be 0, your C will be negative 49. You get 7 and negative 7 out. Number 8, you could do the same way, mode 5.3 if you wanted, but it's a lot simpler just to take the square root to get x alone. Solve by taking the square root. Square root of both sides, you get x equals plus or minus 4, which will be 4 and negative 4. Number 9 is another solving problem here, but it's a trinomial. So we could do mode 5.3. A is 3, B is negative 4, C negative 5. Plug it in. You get x1 equals 5, x2 equals negative 1/3. Those would be your solutions. Number 10, there's 2 ways you can do it. You can solve for x by adding 288 first, dividing 2x squared by 2, and 288 divided by 2 gives you x squared equals 144. That would be this step right here. And then take the square root of each side, you get x equals plus or minus 12. Or you could do mode 5.3. When we do mode 5.3, A would be 2, B would be 0, C would be negative 288. So either one of those ways would work. Now number 11, you don't have much choice. You just have to solve by getting the quadratic by itself. So it says solve the following: 4 times x minus 5 squared plus 1. So step 1, subtract 1 from each side. Step 2 will be to divide by 4 because that 4 is in the front. You want to get rid of that multiplication before we do anything with a squared. So you divide by 4. You get x minus 5 squared equals 16. Then you take the square root. But remember, when you take the square root of something, you get plus or minus as the solution out. So x minus 5 equals plus or minus 4. And then what I did was I added 5 to both sides and got x equals 5 plus or minus 4. Then you split it up to 5 plus 4, 5 minus 4. You get 9 and 1. And so that would be the solution to number 11 there. Alright, we turn over to the next page on the back. Anytime during this video, if you need to just pause it, if I'm going too fast, to go back and look at the steps, review it, that's perfectly fine. That's why I did a video, so you'll be able to move at your own pace as you go through it. But remember, it's important not just to get the answers down, but to understand the reasoning behind the answers. That's why I'm actually explaining it as I go through it. I could have just did a quick glimpse of a 20-second video with just all the answers, but that wouldn't have did you any good. So make sure you pay attention to the solutions as I'm going through it. Number 13 says a rectangle has a length of 3x minus 4 and a width of x minus 4. What is the area? So remember right here, if you look, area is length times width. So we're just going to multiply those two binomials together. 3x minus 4 times x minus 4. So remember, you got to distribute. In the green is where I distributed the 3x, and the red is where I distributed the negative 4. So you get 3x times x is 3x squared. That's right there. 3x times negative 4 is negative 12x. Negative 4 times x is negative 4x. And negative 4 times negative 4 is 16. Combine your like terms. That's why I put a little box around the like terms there. You cannot combine the 3x squared because it's got a squared on it. You just add negative 12x, negative 4x, get negative 16x. Alright, number 15 says which of the following is a quadratic trinomial? Quadratic trinomial. Quadratic means the highest power is 2. Trinomial means 3 terms. So there's actually 2 of those, A and D. 16, which of the following is a classify the following polynomial by degree and term. Degree would be the highest exponent, which would be 4, so it would be quartic. And number of terms would be trinomial because there's 3 terms. Alright, what says number 19? It says give the following zeros, write them in factored form. Alright, remember they give you the zeros. That's the x-intercepts right here. 0, 3, 1/2, and negative 9. In order to make them factors, you change the sign on them and put them with x. So for 3, it'd be x minus 3. For negative 9, it'd be x plus 9. Now, a 0, it's just going to be x, because if you do x plus 0 or x minus 0, you're just going to get x. So that's why x is for 0. For the fraction, remember you change the sign of the number on top, so that's where x minus 1 comes in right here. Then you multiply the bottom number by x, so it'd be 2x minus 1. So C would be correct. Number 20, which word does not mean the same as the other 3? A is solutions, B is y-intercepts, C is roots, D is zeros. The one that doesn't belong is B, y-intercept. All the other ones are the answers that you get when you're solving an equation. They all mean where does a graph cross the x-axis at. There's all x-intercepts. That's what y-intercept does not correct. 21, they just want you to add like terms here. 3x to the 4th plus 2x to the 4th to give you 5x to the 4th. 2x squared minus 5x squared would be negative 3x squared. Bring down your x. Negative 5 plus 2 will be negative 3. You just combine like terms. 22, we have a subtraction problem. Remember, we talked about if you do a subtraction, all you gotta do is like distribute that negative, and it changes the sign on everything. What you gotta remember is change the sign on that negative x to the fifth that becomes a positive. So what I did was change all the signs, and I wrote them up under each other so I can just add going straight down. Sorry. So when you combine your like terms, once you're adding it, it'd be negative 5x to the fifth plus x to the fifth. That'd be negative 4x to the fifth. 3x to the fourth plus negative 2x to the fourth will be just x to the fourth. You can look at it right here if you need to. 4x squared plus 7x squared, from where I changed that negative to a positive 7x squared. That'd be 11x squared. And negative 1 plus a negative 6 will be negative 7. So again, you can do it either way. I think it's easier if you set it up like this right here on top of each other, so you can add your like terms after you've changed the signs. Make sure you change all the signs correctly. Alright, I'll flip over to the next page. And this problem is about symmetry. Determine the symmetry. Remember, all even exponents makes the function be even, so the symmetry will be y-axis. Number 27 has mixed exponents, so there will be no symmetry, neither. And 28, all odd exponents, so the function will be odd. There will be origin symmetry. Excuse me again. Alright, for 30 through 33, it says match the graph with the equation. And if you look right here, I gave you a little note. It says type in y equals and hit graph. So all you gotta do is type all that in, starting after the equal sign where it says negative, parenthesis x plus 3, parenthesis x plus 5, parenthesis x minus 1, parenthesis. Alright, you're gonna match the graph. When you hit graph, you'll see that it looks like A. Number 30 would be A. 31 will give you D. 32, C, and 33 will be B. That's probably the most simple way to do it, since you'll have your graphing calculator there with you. That's the big calculator. You just type it in and hit graph. So it would be A, D, C, and B. (34) here we have an analyzing the graph, and we notice that the domain is negative infinity to infinity because the graph goes left forever because it's going to the edge of the graph, and right forever. It doesn't stop, it keeps going on. The range from the bottom to the top, y values, negative infinity to 5. The zeros, these are our two zeros, sorry, negative 2.10 and 2.10. Those are the zeros for C. D, increasing intervals. I told you that there are two of them. From negative infinity up to negative 1.4, that's one increasing interval. And then from 0 to 1.4 is our other increasing interval. And then E says, well, what is the minimum? There's your minimum right there at the bottom. Remember the little valley? The maximums are the peaks. The minimums are the valleys. So take a good look at that for A through E on number 34. All right. Go to the next page. Again, remember, if I'm moving too fast for you, you can pause the video and continue wherever you left off at. All right, 39. It says match up the graph with the correct function. There's two graphs, so match each graph with the right function down there. Alright, and what I told you to do was graph each answer. Type in y equals, type A in y equals, and see if it looks like either one of those. If it does, that would be the solution, which would be the answer to this graph over here. Type in B. If it matches up to one of those, it will be this one. And then C and D, if A and B wasn't the right answers, you type in C and see if it matched up. Type in D and see if it matched up. The correct answers there are B and A. The question asks you, consider the following graphs. Which of the following functions have the same end behavior? So what you're going to be looking for is the end. See which end's pointing the same way. So in order to be the same as 30 on this graph, both arrows have to be pointing up. So B has both arrows pointing up. A has the first arrow down and the second arrow up. or to have the same end behavior. 41 just wants you to write the end behavior for that graph. The left side is going down, so that's why x goes to negative infinity, f of x goes to negative infinity. Right side is going up, so as x goes to positive infinity, f of x is going to positive infinity. So A would be correct on 41. 49 is hopefully 49 is synthetic division. Says something went wrong. Part of this video may not be saved.